Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trust Conference. It's a real pleasure. This is not just an event on democracy and media freedom. This is not just an event focused on human rights. This is not just an event on equality and sustainability. Trust Conference is the event that explores the synergies between all these critical issues that too often are addressed in isolation.
We're seeing an alarming trend in the sharp increase in legal attacks against journalists around the world. The common endgame? To stifle scrutiny, suppress the truth, and erode trust in journalism.
It's not just about firefighting and being responsive in defending ourselves. I think we need a counterattack. I think we need to be creative in a proactive way and think about ways in which we can use the law to prevent these attacks happening in the first place.
With journalists increasingly under attack and facing numerous threats, it is therefore vital that we recognise those who produce that critical news coverage from dangerous situations.
My job as a journalist is no matter the obstacle to show this harsh reality, because what Ukraine needs is not a narrative that everything is going well.
Now we're in a world where there's been a huge proliferation of commercially available cyber capabilities which are available to a much wider group of states and non-state actors.
When sources get reluctant to share, you lose that core accountability mechanism. And when journalists and newsrooms don't feel that they can reasonably guarantee privacy to their sources, it chills reporting.
Because we're seeing a decline in democracy globally, when that happens, often the first people to be targeted are journalists.
Then I was receiving death threats and rape threats. And then the decision was that I had to lay low. I couldn't go on air for 2 months. And then eventually it reached a point that I couldn't continue.
I'm immensely proud that to have the father that I have. There is occupational hazard. Our house has been firebombed a few times. My father's emails have been hacked.
Shortly after Jamal entered, he was brutally murdered. Jamal's legacy is freedom of thought and the fight for more democracy and free journalism.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Trust Conference. Today we look at how legislation, regulation, and the power of technology could contribute to building more sustainable and inclusive economies within a framework of trust.
We've already leached a lot of agency to technology. Let's make sure that the future, AI-rich future, is empowering for human beings.
There are so many applications that we could build if we connected our imagination with our sense of equity and dignity, and then took technology capacity as something that supports it.
I am an activist or a whistleblower, depending on how you see it, fighting against the exploitation of content moderators.
My hope is that a year from now or 2 years from now, we look back and we say, we learned something in the process of making social media accountable. We learned for the first time, how do we, at scale, bring more and more diverse people into the conversation? Because we will use this again for AI. We will use it over and over again as we tackle new kinds of technological problems.
I think it's important to remember that the poor labor conditions or the issues that we talk about, wages, etc., are not just an outcome of AI. In some sense, cheap labor in the global south is an enabling condition for the production of generative AI, for the production of machine learning.
These corporations are making political choices and they are disrupting the workforce in a way as a result of those political choices, and those are things we all need to intervene in and demand change.
Global efforts to reduce carbon emissions have barely kept pace with the speed of climate change. We are significantly off track to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement.
Research shows that showing people research doesn't work. Sad but true. Otherwise, we'd be on track 40 years ago. What does work is people learning on their own terms.
The problem with all forms of greenwashing is it essentially breeds complacency. It misleads the consumer. It makes people think that things are all in hand, and therefore it delays the urgent action and change that is needed.
We are in the fight for our lives, to use the Secretary-General's terminology, and so litigation alone will remain an essential tool, but it can't be the only one.